What's up, guys? My name's Cody, and this is another UFC betting breakdown. This time for UFC Vegas 18, and we got Alistair Overeem taking on Alexander Volkov, and we're looking to bounce back after what was a pretty tough week last week for not just me, but I feel like a lot of bettors. It was a big underdog week. You had Rebus getting knocked out. You had Conor McGregor getting knocked out. You had Dan Hooker getting knocked out. Luckily, I stayed off the Hooker one, but Rebus and Conor, those ones hurt me. I was happy for Dustin though. It was a great card, but definitely looking to get back in the winning column. I'm gonna try to keep this video a little shorter than I've been running a little long lately, so I'm gonna try to get through some of these ones. But here we go. First up we got Osbourne. This taking on Jerome Rivera, and this fight was just set up yesterday, I think. And Osbourne coming in at like the odds aren't here, but I think he's about 2-1 favorite. We did have Jerome Rivera fight just 2 weeks ago, and he took on Figueiredo's little brother, and Francisco Figueiredo, and that was at 125. This fight's at 145. Osbourne is a 35er, so basically they're just not cutting weight, but Rivera is going up a weight class. Instead of 2, technically it's basically 1. I think that could be a problem because Rivera does need to get takedowns in this fight, and I've already seen strength as kind of an issue at 125. It's not that strength is everything, but it's, strength is never a weakness, and it seems like he's a little bit outstrengthened in a lot of his matchups, and that's at 125, and his wrestling just isn't that, it's not clean enough to make up for that gap, and so he ends up on the feet with guys who are better strikers than him, and I think that's the case in this fight. Osbourne's going to be the cleaner, crisper striker, more power. His jiu-jitsu is not bad anyways, training at Pura Vida, BJJ. So he's got good jiu-jitsu if Rivera is able to get him down. I don't think... I do think that's Rivera's best path to victory. I don't think standing on the feet with him for 15 minutes is going to be good for Rivera. So I do think Osbourne is going to be able to pull this off. He did have a rough debut taking on Brian Kelleher. Got caught in that guillotine, and hey, if there's one thing that Brian Kelleher is really good at, he's got a sick guillotine, and he jumped into it in that first round, and shit happens when you if Brian Kelleher gets his arms around your neck in that first round, you're in trouble. So I do think Osbourne will be able to pull it off. Props to Rivera for this quick turnaround, 2 weeks. Clearly he's hungry. He wants to get back in the win column, but I don't really like this matchup. Not that I do think both these guys are inexperienced, and Rivera actually has a little bit more experience, not just in fights, but he's fought a couple of tougher guys. I mean, if you go down his record, he did fight Francisco already, which is a pretty good win, even though that's just little bro, Still also fought Tyson Nam and Brandon Royval, even though he lost those fights. It's still, Kendrick Lapman at LFA, Luis Rodriguez, Contender Series. I mean, these are decent wins in comparison to, his regional scene here. You got guys I've never heard of, to be honest. Artin Daly, 3-7 and 3-8 when he beat him. No offense, but just inexperienced. So I am going to take Odi Osbourne. I don't think this quick turnaround is going to help Rivera. Maybe you take Odi Osbourne by decision if you want to get a better line, but you're risking, how healthy is Rivera coming into this? He did just fight 2 weeks ago. He didn't take a ton of damage, but he did fight. So I'm going to go Osbourne, but you're risking if you go by decision. I do think that's how he should win, but Rivera is pretty hittable, so wouldn't be shocked if he got knocked out. Next up, we got Youssef Zalal taking in Sungwoo Choi. And Youssef Zalal, man, this has been like a bettor's darling. He's a huge favorite in every fight. He's minus 250 now, even coming off that loss. And I did have him in that I did have Topuria in that fight, and Topuria made me some money. They had Zalal as a big favorite, and he's been a big favorite in all of his fights. And it's understandable because he has had pretty, no disrespect, an easier path, like Austin Lingo, Jordan Griffin, Peter Barrett. That is, they're in the UFC. They beat me up. They beat up most of the world. But as far as the UFC fighters, not the highest level. And Zalal just has that style where he's gonna outpoint you. He's not a finisher, and I don't just mean just some guys have finishing potential and it just doesn't come to fruition. He just, I don't know, man. He's more of like a volume. He's gonna win rounds. Which is good for betting when you're if you're not betting props. Like this guy, friggin', he's not afraid to win a boring decision. He's gonna just go out there and look to win 3 rounds. So I do understand why he's the favorite. I think he should be the favorite, but we have seen that his takedowns aren't, it's like he doesn't chain wrestle. He's not out there like grinding heavy. He shoots singular shots off his strikes, and if he can't land them, he just says, okay, well, we'll just strike then. And I do think that, if he just strikes for 3 rounds with Sung Woo Choi, this isn't going to look like a minus 250, plus 200 fight. This is going to look much more even than that. And I do think Sung Woo Choi has a better finishing capabilities on the feet. He could land something big. He has hands. I would lean Zalal, but I wouldn't bet him at minus 250. And I would understand if you threw a little something on Woo Choi. I'm probably just going to lay off this. I have wanted to fade Zalal again, and that's no disrespect. He's a good fighter, and I actually like him. He seems like a cool guy, but I just bettors they really overvalue this guy. I feel like, and while I do think he should be the favorite, I think he should be minus 150, minus 170 at most. Minus 250, I can't pay that. So give me Zalal, but I'm not gonna bet this fight. Next up, we got Molly McCann, Molly Meatball taking on Laura Prakovia. And Molly McCann coming in as a favorite, which is pretty surprising after the last performance. I mean, I know Talia Santos, she's proven to be pretty legit, but I don't really understand that. Honestly, Molly just, man, it's tough because she comes in as a boxer, like a wrestle boxer, but her takedowns aren't that. If she can't get to them, then it just becomes overhand lead hook. And that 62-inch reach, man, it's rough. I mean, I always argue, reach doesn't matter if you don't know how to use it. Especially if you're a good wrestler, you actually prefer that. Get under somebody easier. But, I don't know, man. I was, Molly really, I actually had a little money on Molly in that last fight, I had to admit. And man, a couple minutes into the fight, I'm like, oh, I'm done. Yeah, that money's gone. Because she looked just basically lost out there. She really didn't have an answer for Talia. She wasn't getting close to getting any takedowns. I mean, she landed a couple decent shots, but it's just her striking so predictable. It's really pretty basic, man. It's that overhand, that lead hook, and she doesn't really throw a good jab. She's not really mixing it up with a lot of combinations. It's just pretty basic. And Laura, I do think on the feet, she's just gonna have just a striking advantage. I mean, she put up a good fight against Carol Rosa, and Carol Rosa basically just beat her on volume. But I mean, she showed in that fight her striking's not bad at all. And I mean, while she is inexperienced, Molly has a bit of experience on her for sure, and she hasn't fought anybody really to, her last couple of fights at Shooto Brazil, pretty legit, which got her into the UFC. But, I understand Molly's much more well-established. Obviously, I don't think a lot of people before this card knew who Laura was. But, I went through and watched her last 3 fights, and I mean, her striking's pretty good. She has a better, cleaner striking. And I just feel like she has more weapons. She actually uses her reach pretty decently. And I don't know. I mean, I do think if Molly can get a couple takedowns, that's Molly's best path to victory. But I can't really trust her to get takedowns. So this to me is a dog or pass. I think this fight's gonna play out on the feet, and then it's gonna be a really close decision. So if you're gonna bet it, I would take Laura. Maybe take Laura by decision, but yeah, I would probably just stay off it because she might armbar her in the guard or something. So you're gonna just be pissed at that point. So I'm gonna stay off it, but I'll take Laura by decision. I can't bet Molly McCann as a favorite in 2021. Next up, we got Carol Rosa taking on Jocelyn Edwards, and just like the fight, Jerome Rivera. Edwards just fought. What was that? Also 2 weeks ago, or was that Yeah, that was that was the card before that. She fought Yinan Wu on the card before that, so 3 weeks ago. And she looked good in that fight. She came in as an underdog on that fight, and we picked her to win, and she got the win. I didn't have any money on her, but I do like her style is pretty like. I think a lot of people will like her if she can piece together a couple wins because also this is gonna win you some fans when you turn around in 3 weeks and get right back out there. And she's just her ground game is definitely like she's got a lot to work on there. But Sarah Alpar was able to go out there and take her down pretty easily. Doesn't seem like she has a ton of weapons off of her back. But she's not easy to take down for these girls, and she has a lot of power. She's gonna have the power advantage in this Carol Rosa fight, but Carol Rosa, man, these canceled fights are crazy. Wow, that's insane. 4 with Julia Vila, that's tough. But she did get that win over Vanessa Melo and the Laura Prakovia that we were just talking about. And Vanessa Melo just did get that win. Another just fight that was a close decision on the feet. And that's how I feel like this fight's not going to go to the ground. If Carol Rosa can get Edwards down, then that would be good. Like, I really do think she's going to have the advantage on the mat. Probably do some good work. I don't know if she'd be able to finish her, and maybe if she got to her back, but most likely just be able to secure some control. Look good for the judges. But most likely this is going to be 15 minutes. At least like 13 of the minutes are going to be on the feet. I think Carol Rosa is going to have to be careful. Like, I think she likes, she does some of her work in the clinch. And Edwards probably going to have a bit of a strength advantage on her, I think. At least be able to match her strength. While I do think Rosa is the better overall grappler, she is a black belt. But, I think this fight's going to be predominantly striking. And I do think Rosa's going to be winning. Like, she's going to be winning on volume. But if Edwards could land some, she's going to have the power advantage. And she throws, like, she'll let her combinations go and go for it. So if she comes forward and can land some, like, heavy shots to sway the judges, this could play out pretty close. I think Rosa should be the favorite, but again, another one where I think, maybe because Edwards is so unknown, she did also just fight. We did talk about that. So I guess maybe that could sway people a little bit. But, I think be a little careful adding Rosa to parlays at minus 225. This gonna probably be a 15-minute fight, and Edwards is a dog, and she slings those hands. I do think Rosa will out-volume her, and if it goes 15 minutes, most likely I'll lean in a female and a women's MMA fight. If it goes to the judges, a lot of times it's going to be who gets that volume, especially when it's a fight that I'm pretty sure is going to play out on the feet for the most part. So I lean Rosa by decision, but maybe you just play the over in this fight. I don't think either girl's going to get finished. They're both really tough, hard to finish. So give me Rosa by decision to get a little bit better odds. Next up, we got Justin James taking on Devonte Smith. And Justin James, he's taking this fight on like 6 days notice. We saw him in his last fight against Gabriel Benitez get absolutely just wrecked to the body. That was rough. Gabriel Benitez, to be fair, has like some serious power, especially in his knees kicks. And then Gavin Tucker, just basically weathered the storm. Jaden landed some good shots, but Gavin Tucker just like he's proven to be pretty legit, honestly. Like I said earlier, that Gavin Tucker fight against Billy Q, that proved a lot to me. So Gavin's pretty legit. So you can't give him too much shit for either of these losses, but he did show that his go-to game plan is just going out there and just looking to brawl you in the first minute. And if he can't get you out of there, he just starts to slow down. He becomes less and less dangerous as the fight goes on. And Devonte Smith, on the other hand, We saw him take his first loss in that last one. And man, or wait, no, it was his second loss. He had lost to John Gunther, which was insane. Man, wow. That's crazy. I remember this guy in Ultimate Fighter. Man, I remember he just got starched on the Ultimate Fighter. Dude, what did he do? He took the fur off sheep. Man, that was a character. Anyways, Justin James, man. Yeah, Devonte Smith. We saw him get his first loss, which made Karma Worthy that was the beginning of Karma Worthy and that hype train, which has since gone away a little bit. No offense, but Karma Worthy and him were teammates, and you saw Devonte Smith. He just came out, and he usually comes out and just tries to just knock people's heads off in the first round, and you got to wonder if maybe being his teammate changed things a little bit for him, because he definitely seemed to come out more, passive. Apparently, it was a story I couldn't forget that Devonte Smith had called him and asked him if he wanted to fight him. Basically, his opponent dropped off, so Worthy stepped in short notice and then knocked his boy out. Worthy was supposed to go in there and get beat up by his training partner, basically, just to have a fight in the UFC, and Worthy said fuck all that and knocked him out in the first round. But yeah, I do think even I like that he took a long break after that. I mean, that is maybe getting into a little too long. But hey, you get knocked out like that. That was a bad one. Maybe you take a year off, year plus. I mean, it's been a year, 15 months or something now. Just heal up and just get better. And I mean, he's young. He's only 27 and a half. I say and a half because it's staring at me right there. But and I just feel like with James coming in on such short notice, less than a week, he's just gonna go. He's not like he's gonna come in with some crazy game plan. He's gonna come in there and do exactly what he did his last 3 fights. Look to take your head off in the first 5 seconds. So I do think Devonte Smith has a strike advantage. He's the quicker guy. Maybe not the most explosive in the beginning, but Devonte's explosive himself. And if James goes in there chasing him wildly, you could definitely see Devonte knock him out. You could also see James slow down if he goes after him crazy, and Devonte start picking him apart at the end of the fight. So I would be careful taking props, because I feel like this could go a lot of ways. You could think, oh, James, if he's either James first round or just Devonte a decision or late finish, but you might see Devonte get a first round knockout if James comes at him like a fucking bat out of hell. So I'm gonna take Devonte Smith. I just think he's a better all around fighter, and I don't think James, which I didn't really get into, if he gets into oh shit, I wasn't able to knock this guy out right away, let me get to grind, try to wrestle him. I really feel like Devonte can fend most of that off, and even if James can get him down, I feel like Smith be able to work his way back to the feet, and we're going to see James start to slow down in the end of the second, third round, especially taking this fight on short notice. He's going to go out there and try to knock Devonte out in that first round. That's just what he does. Respect. It's going to be a fun fight. So give me Devonte Smith, and I'm going to take him by knockout. Next up, we got Timur Valiev taking on Martin Day, and this is another short notice fight for Martin Day stepping in. Valiev coming off that pretty a knockout, which turned into a no contest. But Trevin Jones, we saw Trevin went in there plus 500 or something, at least 4 something, and you did see Valiev hurt him bad early. I think it was a body shot, and he had Trevin almost out of there. But then Trevin Jones ended up coming back, rocked him, dropped him, and I was a little biased because I had money on Valiev. I mean, I had him in a couple parlays, but I did think, I was like, man, you let Trevin take a beating, and then you stopped it pretty quick on Valiev. But Valiev was fucked up. It was probably over. I was just being a little salty, and I'll admit it. But coming into this fight, man, Martin Day, man, has had a rough UFC run. 0-3, lost the decision to Ping Yan Liu, got knocked out by Davy Grant, and then got submitted by Anderson Dos Santos in his last fight. And a lot of people were on him in his last 2 fights, really. Actually, really, his last 3 fights. Like, and then every time, he's just been, he just hasn't been able to deliver. Man, these would have been 3 tough fights for him, too. But, he's another one of these, he's another one of these Hawaiian striker, tough, willing to get hit, just, comes forward, kickboxer, but he just doesn't have a very versatile game, skill set, he's not going to be able to take Valiev down. That's not happening. So Valiev's a little fucking meatball, and his jiu-jitsu, his grappling, his wrestling's pretty legit. I mean, it's nothing crazy, but if anything, he's a hard dude to take down. And I think if anybody's getting the takedown, it's going to be Valiev. I think Valiev, if he wants to, can take this guy down pretty much, I'm not going to say easily, but because I don't know how, he likes to mix it up. I don't think he's going to go out there and, look to just come out with a singlet on. He's not going to go out there and only wrestle. But I do think if they clinch up, Valiev's going to have a big strength advantage. If Valiev wants to drop and just dump him to the ground, he'll be able to do that. Valiev's going to have the power. He's a quicker guy. And even though he did get finished in his last fight, he's pretty durable. I just think he got caught in that last one. I just feel like Valiev has the advantages everywhere, really, on the feet, on the ground, in the clinch, on the cage. Maybe if we see Valiev, if Martin can, get taken down a couple times but keep getting up, maybe we see Valiev start to slow down towards the end of the fight. That would be Martin's best shot, in my opinion. Is just try to just stick out that first round and a half, and maybe we see Valiev start to slow down. But honestly, this is one of my safer picks on the card. Valiev, I got Valiev all day. Obviously, he's going to be a big favorite. The line isn't set there, but he is set at, minus 360 right now. So, maybe you put him in a 2-3 fighter parlay. But, I'm going to take Valiev. I'd be careful on a prop because I think he can honestly submit him. He could knock him out, and he could win a decision. But, I am going to take Valiev. So, moving on to the next one. We got Mike Rodriguez taking on Danilo Marquez. And Mike Rodriguez had that crazy fight in his last one where he should have got a finish over Ed Herman. He basically knocked him out with a body shot, and Herman couldn't continue. He sat on the ground. But the ref thought it was a low blow, gave him time to get up. Herman gets a takedown, hits a Kimura on him, finishes him. Insane. One of the, when have you seen, I don't know, you just haven't seen that often where a guy's been royally fucked that bad by a referee. That was bad. He should have a win on his record. Honestly, it's pretty tragic. But Danilo Marquez, he came in. Man, I remember watching tape for this guy in his last fight. I was like, man, this is insane. Fighting Khadisa Bragomov, and I gotta be honest, I had Khadisa Bragomov in that, a 2-fighter parlay. And Jesus Christ, it was just why are either of these guys in the UFC? And I don't like to say shit like that. They'd both beat me up. But, I mean, Cadiz is they brought this guy in to lose to Cadiz, and then he found a way to win. Or Cadiz found a way to lose, I should say. If you go down his record, it's just a bunch of guys who won't even list their record. 0-3, 8-17. The other 4 of them won't list their record. And then 5-9, 0-16, 5-4. And then he got a UFC shot. They brought him in to lose to Khadisa Bragomov. Period. This guy had no reason to be in there, man. He was throwing crazy spinning shit and getting knocked out for it. On it when I was watching his tape, I think it was this Marcin Tellez fight against a 6-6 guy. He threw a rolling thunder and then got knocked out. Like, that was insane. Man, this guy just so wild, but, Mike Rodriguez should piece this guy up on the feet. But, man, Mike is just, his fight IQ just doesn't seem the best, If he maybe knocks this guy down and then ends up in his guard and then gets submitted, I could see some shit like that happening. Like, Mike, I swear, the last fight was like the explanation point on that, but he like finds a way to lose so many times. And I actually like Mike Rodriguez, and man, he took that last one better than I would have. But I do have Mike, but man, betting 250 on Mike Rodriguez is scary because he's just not somebody you want to bet as a favorite too often. I am leaning him here, and I'm tempted to bet him, but like maybe if that line comes down a little bit, but just like I can't bet that right now. Moving on to the next fight, we got Michael Johnson taking on Clay Guida. Speaking of unreliable, two absolute legends. Like, I respect the hell out of these guys, especially Clay Guida. I mean, Michael Johnson's like style, like fight style, is dope. Like, I always love watching him fight. But Clay Guida, absolute, just come on, pioneer, legend. Been watching the guy fight for over 10 years. But yeah, man. Coming up on 40. Well, no, he just turned 39. Let me be fair. 35-20 and 19-16. And Clay Guida had that fight with Bobby Green, which was a grinder, man. It was tough. That was his last one. And then Jim Miller lost, guillotine choke, beat BJ Penn, lost to Charles Oliveira, so you can't give him too much shit for that. And that was only 2.5 years ago. And then Michael Johnson, you had him in his last fight. He was beating the absolute shit out of Thiago Moises, and then Moises just came out in the second round, just jumped single fucking straight ankle lock and beat him. And Stevie Ray, he was beating in the early on, same way, and then Stevie Ray starts taking him down, grapples him. Same thing with Darren Elkins, beating him up. Darren Elkins gets a takedown, rear naked choke. Okay, Gaethje, that was an absolute brawl. That was insane. Okay, Khabib. Like, Michael Johnson, they've both fought the who's who. Michael Johnson's fought the who's who a little bit more recently, but Clay Guida's been fighting for a long time. Obviously, Michael Johnson, like, good power in his hands, super quick hands. Like, people underestimate his boxing. His striking's really good. The thing is, like, and his takedown defense isn't bad. It's just when they get a takedown, it's like, dude just doesn't have it. Like, he's just not able to get up. And that's tough when you're fighting a guy like Clay Guida who's willing to just grind. So, man, I do think Michael Johnson should win this fight, and I would have to pick Michael Johnson because Clay Guida, I feel like, man, it's just all this wear and tear, all these fights, like, I got to go Michael Johnson. Should be able to piece him up on the feet, but, man, Clay Guida is just all heart, all grind, and I would not be surprised if we see Michael Johnson piece him up in that first round. I think this could be a good live bet situation where you just go out, you wait and see Michael Johnson beats the shit out of him in that first round. Like, you might get Guida like plus fucking 400 or some shit, and then he just goes out there and takes him down, rear naked chokes him. I wouldn't be shocked. Probably not rear naked choke, but maybe just win the next 2 rounds. So yeah, give me Michael Johnson, but I'm not putting him on any bets. Like, if anything, like, I would look for a live bet spot. Try to get an even better line on Clay Guida to eke it out, because it just happens to Michael Johnson, man. He's like the best fighter to always find a way to lose, I swear. But give me Michael Johnson. I can't believe I'm saying it. Next up, this is a banger. This might be my favorite fight. Favorite fight on the card. We got Diego Ferreira taking on Beneil Dariush. This is the rematch. In the first one, we had Dariush win a decision. And since then, Diego Ferreira, he's on a big win streak. I believe it's 6 or 7. 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. And his last one, Anthony Pettis, that was the most notable. He just doesn't, there's a lot of gaps between these fights. And Beneil Dariush, he's been staying really active. He's got a 5-fight win streak.
Share your world with the Samsung Galaxy S21 5G.
Fought twice in 2019, and then twice in 18.
Best Buy can activate it on your network.
Did get knocked out by Alexander Hernandez early, but since then, beat Moises. submitted Drew Dober. That's a good win. Rear naked choked Frank Camacho. You remember him sleeping Jakar Close. And then he slept Scott Holtzman too. So, man, Dariush, like, I remember everybody was ready to, after that Alexander Hernandez fight, people were ready to write him off and say he was chinny. But, like, he does get rocked in a lot of his fights because he gets in there and just fucking bangs. But, you know, I mean, hey, he's been pulling it off. He's got a lot, like, he just weathers the storm. And Diego Ferreira, the Marbach Taisumov, that was a good win. That was probably like the most impressive win, to me. But got Ruslan Kabalov, both of them by decision. That Kyle Nelson fight, he did finish Kyle Nelson, which was good. And Jared Gordon too. Like, these guys, he's out grappling. It's just you know, it's just, this is a step below Beneil Dariush. Like, Dariush, like, he is training at Fortis MMA, so that's always a good sign. But, you know, when your game plan is to go down and take down Dariush, especially when they've already fought, and Dariush was the one landing takedowns on him. Now, Ferreira obviously has good jiu-jitsu, but I do think that when this fight hits the mat, because I do think it's going to hit the mat at some point, whoever's on top is just, and I know that's the case for most MMA fights, but in this fight, they both got good jiu-jitsu. But I feel like Dariush, a little bit better takedown defense, and maybe a little bit better offensive wrestling. And you actually have Dariush as an underdog. I think Dariush, man, I mean, obviously it's a slight underdog. It's just plus 100. But, man, I actually really like Dariush here, just straight up. And because I just feel like, man, I know people say he doesn't have the best chin, but, man, dude just, like, weathers the storm. He's like a Glover. Like, he gets tagged, but then he just works his way back. And, like, he's got heavy hands. I could see these guys trading, and, man, Dariush, like, I wouldn't be shocked if he put him away. But most likely, you know, I think he can land the takedowns. You would think, like, damn, Dariush's been doing this for a while, even though they both got a decent amount of fights. He's actually the younger guy by 5 years. Which, like, people think Dariush just his look. Like, people think he's older than he is, but, man, dude is, like, good, man. People sleep on Dariush, and Ferrer hasn't been, like, super active. I like Dariush in this, man. I like him as a really slight underdog. I wouldn't pick a prop because I think it can go a lot of ways. Most likely KO or decision, but because these guys are both really good at jiu-jitsu, I don't think, like, I think if he gets the Ferreira's back, Ferreira probably defends, but he gets some good control time, win the round. So I'm going to take Beneil just straight up at plus 100. That's a good bet, and I'm going to lock that in. Next up, we got Cody Stamann taking on Asgar. And when I first saw this announced, I was like, oh shit, fucking Askarov, he's going up a division, but no, I mean, we got this fight's at 145, and I had to go back and watch some tape on him because I'm not gonna lie, I hadn't seen him until this fight. Coming from LFA, and you know, he's a scrappy dude. Not like, he's pretty kind of like a generalist. Like, I wouldn't say he's great anywhere. I mean, he's definitely a striker, but you know, decent takedown defense, but, you know, he hasn't fought, like, the who's who yet. He hasn't fought a Cody Stamann. And, you know, I'm going to keep this relatively short because I think this is one of the more simpler fights on the card. The only X factor in this fight for Cody Stamann, the only thing that makes me not just go out there and put him on all my parlays, is he is coming up to 145 for this. And Askar's a pretty big dude, man. Like, you know, I get that he only has a 1-inch reach advantage, and he's got the 5-inch reach advantage and 1-inch height. But I don't know. I mean, the last fight says 145, but that was just because it was short notice. That was that Jimmy Rivera fight. Neither one of them guys are 145ers. Yeah, I feel like you know, it's a little bit of an X factor to me, but other than that, it's like, I just feel like from what I saw on tape and Askar's fights, Cody should just be able to grind him out. And I know the line is pretty wide, but I do think that he can mix in some takedowns, just put him on the cage, grind him, and it's minus 450 for a reason. But if you're smart, you'd probably take that by decision. Asgar has only been finished once, and I know it was quick finish, but, you know, it was by a tough dude, and shit happens when you're inexperienced. I'm not going to try to... I was like, why do I remember, like, something crazy with his name? Yeah, I'm not going to try to pronounce that name, but I watched it. It's like, okay, he got clocked. Like, shit happens. You fight 12 times, like, when you're inexperienced, like, the shit can happen. But I think he's relatively durable. He came back in his last fight, showed, you know, chin wasn't busted. Cody Stamann, not really a finisher. This should go over. So I would take Cody by decision, and pretty confident in that. Probably he's in the top 2, top 3 most confident picks on the card. So gonna move on and go to a harder fight to call, in my opinion. Alexander Pantoja coming in against Manuel Cape. You might remember Cape as the guy who fought fucking Ian McCall, and Ian like cut his face on the rope. It was really weird, and they got in a little scuffle before the fight. But you know, this guy's super explosive, super powerful. The thing is, like, man, if you go down these fights, like, okay, Ian McCall, obviously that's way past like his prime. I love Ian McCall, so I'm no shots fired, but, you know, he's been through a lot, super crazy amount of injuries. Other than that, it's like, man, he hasn't really fought. I mean, at Rise, and they got some tough guys out there, but Mizugaki at this point of his time, Kai Asukura, like, these aren't, I don't know, like, that's his probably best win right here. And you know, he went 1-1 with him. And Pantoja, on the other hand, it's like, man, fought Asgar, fight Davison Figueiredo, took him to decision. Wilson Rice, Brandon Moreno, Dustin Ortiz. Those are some good fucking fights, win or lose. You're gonna get some good experience from that. And I do think that, you know, Cape's gonna want to lull him into a brawl, and Pantoja can fight pretty emotional, so that's gonna be like the scary part for me. If I'm betting Pantoja, is just sitting there praying that he doesn't get lulled into just a scrap. But Pantoja's got better jiu-jitsu, better wrestling. I don't think his wrestling is crazy overpowering, but, you know, I think he should be able to hit some takedowns. He should be able to, you know, mix it up with Cape. And if he does that, you know, I just feel like he should be able to win a decision here. But I'm not going to play a prop, because I would not be surprised if they do start brawling. Either one of them gets knocked out. You know, I think Pantoja, while he's not like the best anywhere, he's better in all assets. Maybe Cape, Cape like might have the better knockout ability on the feet, but Pantoja can crack too. And I just feel like if he mixes it up, he's the better MMA fighter. Pantoja should win. It's lined pretty close to how I could see. I would probably bet him up to like minus 150, 160. I think that, like, he's just a better fighter, much more experienced, fought the better guys, and he should get this done. This is his fight to lose. Just don't go out there and brawl with Cape, and you should win. Moving on, we got a dope fight next. We got what easily could be a main event somewhere on one of these cards. We got Cory Sandhagen taking on the legend Frankie Edgar. And right off the bat, I'm going to just say this line is crazy, man. Like, I get it. I like Cory. He's good. He's coming into his prime. Frankie, I get it. Not only has he lost a couple recently, but, like, he's been knocked out a couple times by a crazy uppercut from Brian Ortega. And then, you know, TKZ off, like, what, like a week 2 notice or something? 145. Like, you know, Frankie is a legend. Like, he's still so good. And even though he's coming up on 40, it's like, if he can work his way inside, if he can just hit a couple takedowns, it's only a 3-round fight, man. If we've seen that Cory is a bit of a slow starter, and you could say that Frankie is too. Some people do, but I don't know. I think if Frankie, like, it's just a 3-round fight, he's not gonna have to pace himself like he obviously has the cardio to go 5 all day, every day. But I'm just saying, he doesn't fight 3-round fights often at all, man. Now he's in a 3-round fight, like, man. He might just, if he's smart, like, he's got a good team around him, going to put a good game plan. He's just got to avoid those leg kicks. He's got to get right inside and just fucking swarm Cory, because, I mean, I know it was Aljo, but, hey, we've seen, like, get on him early, man. Like, I could see Frankie just securing some early takedowns. I don't think he'll get the submission like Aljo could, but, I wouldn't put it past it. At plus 320, he could get a rear naked choke, man. More likely, he could wrestle him for 2 rounds and win two of the 3 rounds. Now, I do think if this takes place on the feet, I mean, it's going to be Cory all day. Cory's going to outland him so easily. He's got a fucking, even though the reach says 2 inches, their legs is completely different. His legs, I would like to see the leg reach advantage because he's going to be able to kick him easily. He's going to be able to kick him where Frankie can't reach him. And, I think that's what Cory's going to do on the feet. He's just going to have to be careful because when you're throwing a lot of kicks, it's easier for a guy like Frankie to get those takedowns when you're already at that lower base. And, man, he just needs to grab that leg for a single. And Cory, like, if he's not near the cage, it's a lot tougher for him to work his way up. And you could see Frankie eke out 2 of these rounds, and a lot of y'all's parlays are going to be busted. So, I don't see betting Cory at all on this. I might be betting Frankie if, like, honestly, I don't know. I want to say, like, if it goes wider, but it's like, honestly, that would be insane for it to go even wider. But, so it's like, I got to shit or get off the pot. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm really tempted just because I do think Cory wins. Cory wins by decision. I guess he could knock him out. He could clip him with something. Most likely by decision. I think people are underestimating Frankie. They think Frankie's just, like, busted now because Korean Zombie clapped him and fucking Brian Ortega landed a crazy uppercut on him that would have knocked anybody out. But, yeah, I do think Cory should win, but the line is off, so the value is all on Frankie. I try not to say things like that, but, like, the value is on Frankie, period. Next up, we got Alistair Overeem taking on Alexander Volkov, and this one has been tough for me, man. This one is, like, really tough for me. I've been making money on Alistair because people just want to sleep on him. And, like, every fight with Alistair, you're going to hear, like, oh, he's been knocked out, like, 16 times, 14 times. Not to mention all his kickboxing times, like, being knocked out. Like, you're going to always have to talk about his chin every fight. That's just how it goes when you break down an Alistair fight. We get into this every time. But, Volkov's not a huge power puncher. Like, he does have a good amount of knockouts. He overwhelms you with volume. He's going to throw combinations. He's not really a one-shot KO punch artist like the guys who are knocking Alistair out. Especially with the game plan that Alistair's been bringing lately. And, it's tough to throw a lot of combinations and really be there to overwhelm Alistair with volume when he's such a clean kickboxer. Like, you got to catch him with a big counter and just starch him because, he can't take those huge, heavy shots anymore. But to just, like, outstrike him on the feet to overwhelm him is tough, man. He's a super high-level kickboxer. And not to mention his clinch game, knees and elbows are so clean. And I get it, man. He's 40 years old, going on 41 in a couple months. Volkov's in his prime. I don't know how, like, it's also, like, it worked out in his last fight. But, you're seeing Volkov start to bulk up. He's definitely bulking up. Like, he's been putting some muscle on. And, 265 with a bunch of muscle, like, we're going to see, like, if he has that cardio that he did have in that Blades fight. I know he lost. I know he got taken down 14 times. But you saw him start to come on in those later rounds. And that's what, that cardio, he's going to need that to take out some of these guys when he doesn't have the most power. I don't think he's going to be able to just clip Alistair in the first round, knock him out. But I do think Alistair can land a couple of takedowns, but can he take him down for 3 rounds if he can't get him out of there? Can he take him down and finish him? He is training at elevation. I get that. Like, his cardios look better. He's still fighting at a high level. He can mix it up. I've been hearing everybody talking about how he's going to get the takedown. But I don't know, man. I don't know if he can wrestle him enough. So I do lean Volkov. I do think Volkov should win. It's his fight to lose. But, man, 2-1 is tough, man. So what I'm looking at is taking the over. Probably maybe at least the over 1.5, but definitely the over 1.5, but maybe the over 2.5. I'm going to tweet these out, and I'm also going to post a short video right before the fights, probably like Friday night, with all my bets. Just a short 5-minute video just showing my bets. But yeah, I mean, for the main event, man, I just feel like, Volkov with volume, with just the better cardio, even though Overeem's cardio is not bad. I just think the game plan he's going to have to use to win this fight, because Volkov is just going to be landing the better volume, Alistair needs to mix it up, get on some takedowns, put him on the clinch, or put him on the cage with the clinch, knees, elbows. Like, Volkov, it's going to take a lot out of Alistair, and I don't know if he can do that for 3-4 rounds. Let alone, like, if he does, like, can he get out of the 5th round without gassing hard enough to get finished? I don't know. I mean, I do land Volkov, and I hate picking against my boy Alistair, but I gotta lean Volkov. But would not be surprised if Alistair got it done. I don't think I have the balls to bet 2-1 against Alistair. Like, not when Alexander doesn't really, like, he doesn't have the biggest wins on his resume that are like Alistair level. Like Walt Harris, Greg Hardy, Fabricio Verdum, way diminished Fabricio. He looked terrible in that fight. He looked like really just fat and out of shape. Stephen Struve, Roy Nelson, like, Alistair is a fucking animal, man. This is a step up. So this is like a pick'em in my book. Like, this should be like Volkov minus 120 in my opinion. Literally. Minus 125, minus 130. Over that, like, I can't bet. So I'm going to lean Volkov, but it's close, and we're going to wrap this up. I appreciate y'all. I try to keep the video a little shorter. I know they just run so long, and I'm going to add some timestamps though on my Twitter. And my Twitch will be in the caption. We'll be live for the fight, so come by, hang out. I'll see y'all then, man. Appreciate y'all. Enjoy the fights. Come through and hang out with us on Twitch, and I will tweet out all my bets, so tweet me there or comment below what your bets are going to be or what you agree or disagree with. I always answer all the comments. I appreciate y'all. Peace. Peace. Peace.